Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind. And now, the Freedom Reporters.
Good evening, Maverick family. Welcome back to the Maverick News channel. It's going to be a great broadcast because we have some important stories to share with you tonight, and we have one of our favorite special contributors coming back right now. Here he is, the one, the only Joseph M. Leonard. Hello, sir.
Hello, my friend. How are you doing today?
Just fine. And I wish it was... I wish we were bringing you back on here tonight under better circumstances, but not so great because you have a censorship issue. Don't get into the details because you're just giving the headlines right now. Tell people what happened in like one line or less.
Yeah. Fascist book attempted to apply Canadian law to a U.S. citizen.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're going to get into that tonight. We're also going to talk about Trump sneakers at $400 a pop. We're going to talk about Kevin O'Leary slamming that ruling against Trump and the millions of dollars that he has to pay. Says that's going to put a chilling effect on real estate in New York. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about the Navalny narrative is what I'm characterizing it as, or calling it. All the spin that both sides are kind of putting on the death of Alexei Navalny, the political opponent of Vladimir Putin, who turned up dead in an Arctic Russian prison. So all that and a whole lot more, folks, coming up right here on the Maverick News Channel. Don't go away. We will be right back after this.
Feel the vibrations. Our quest continues. The truth is out there. We are Mavericks.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, let's get right into our top story. Oh, wait a second. Wait. I have to remind everybody of a couple of things first. Later in the broadcast, we'll have a new chapter in the ongoing Maverick Knights animated anime saga. And I know that that's becoming a big attraction for people because it's just so wonderfully done and it's just riveting content. So, yeah, the Maverick Knights do battle tonight with Nazis. So that's coming up, and the Maverick Knights is you guys. So you get to
the Maverick Knights go to California.
Well, there's another chapter yet to come. So we'll produce that one too. So that's coming up. And also, before we really get started tonight, I need to put out an appeal to everybody and a request.
Would that be a banana or an orange peel?
Well, no, this is actually very very serious, Joseph.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. There's the other night, a couple nights ago, and those of you in the chat will maybe know what I'm talking about. Something happened in there that is very, very concerning to me. And I need to address this on the program tonight. As you know, I've told people, if you have feelings that you might want to do something crazy, if you're feeling depressed, you can call me and reach out. And the other night somebody did. And I was disturbed and very concerned when he told me what had happened to him in the chat. Now, I know that you guys are kind people, you're caring people, and around here, you know, we're all about truth and integrity, honesty. We want to use our platform to do good things for people, especially right now because there's so much stress on so many of us, and it's hard for people out there. But what I heard had happened in there, and I was able to verify some of this person who reached out to me was not treated very well in the chat by some people. And I know who the people are, and it's very disappointing to me. Now, I think that maybe some of these comments made to this person were made in jest, but this person, frankly, was severely depressed and was thinking of doing some crazy things, potentially suicidal. So I spent a lot of time on the phone talking with this friend who is part of the Maverick family, guys, and the response that he got when he was looking for support was less than supportive. In fact, it was quite the opposite. And that's very disappointing to me. And I'll just chalk it up to maybe people not understanding what was really going on with him. And I also understand that he may have made some comments that triggered a negative response, even from the moderators, who I think actually banned him because of what he was saying. But that being said, you have to be mindful of why people might be acting the way they're acting. And I guess, you know, me included, we all have to be respectful of people and understand that we don't always understand what other people are going through, right? So what I need to have happen around here is we need to clean the act up just a little bit, right? The language has to get a little cleaner. the attitude has to get a little bit more positive. You know, when I'm on here and I'm talking about, hey guys, why don't you call in and tell me what you love about the country instead of what you hate about it? I don't want you to call in and then tell me what you hate about the country just to counteract what I'm saying, because you want to hate on the country and fearmonger. So if you can't say something nice when we're trying to just ease tension a little bit, then just don't call in. All right? And if you're going to tell somebody to go ahead and kill themselves, don't come back. I don't want that here. I don't want that on my hands. That's not what we're about, and I won't tolerate it. It's gross and disgusting, and that's not what we are here. So let's raise the bar a little bit and be the Maverick Knights that we need to be. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Let's leave the BS behind. Let's stop embracing the propaganda. Let's stop embracing the lies. Let's start really grounding ourselves in actual truth and not embracing information and crapola that is driving people literally insane, to the point where they're calling me, which they should, and if anybody else needs to, my number is easy to find. It's right on the website, and you can call me anytime. But this has to stop. And that's largely what this whole platform is about. It's about grounding people, getting them away from these, frankly, some of these other live streamers who do nothing but fearmonger and drive people to the edge, to weaponize mental illness and use people as pawns. That's not what we do here. All right? I'm here for restoration and preservation of the best parts of the country, our countries. I'm here to bring things back, to find a way back to real freedom. Real freedom, not BS freedom, not some pseudo freedom, not some fake freedom, not some freedom being offered up by some political activists who really have no interest in freedom at all. I'm interested in bringing it back. And I know that we have people on here who are sometimes, just stirring things up because they're part of some group, or they're an activist, or they're here recruiting people in the chat and otherwise, or they're over here trying to destroy the channel intentionally. They can all screw off. All right? I'd have no tolerance for that. But if people want to come here and be constructive and work toward real solutions and deal with real things, this is the place for you. If you want to go listen to propagandists over there, or people are going to lie to you just because they're telling you what you want to hear, because it makes you, gives you some, adrenaline rush or something, go ahead. It's all out there for you. There's tons of it right now. In fact, I'm having trouble finding any place online at all that tells people the bloody truth. I can't find it. I've said real journalism is pretty much dead, and it's true, but I'm old school. I've been doing this for 40 years plus. I've been doing it since I was a kid, from school newspapers and making Super 8mm films all the way up to today, dealing with this crazy information war. And nothing I have done in the past has prepared me for what we're immersed in right now. And I see the damage that it is doing to people and to our countries. Our countries are in jeopardy. The mental health of everyone is in jeopardy. Nobody seems to know what the hell to believe anymore. And we're on the cusp of a new chapter in information warfare that we are not prepared for, because it's artificial intelligence and psychological techniques and, frankly, yes, drugs. Lots and lots of drugs, many of which are now legal, and it just makes people paranoid as hell and vulnerable to all of this BS online, which is just infecting people's brains. And it's not just what you're being told, it's also what you're not allowed to see through censorship and all of these other measures. And they are doing crazy, sophisticated things to mess with your minds. But that's not what we do here. And when people have a problem, I'm just begging you guys, because I know that we have the best group online, because this is a place of real truth, not crap, not fear mongering, real bloody truth. And we've got problems, real problems, and we cannot allow ourselves to get distracted by all this crap. We got to focus on the real stuff. And when somebody in our family is in trouble or having problems or they need support, we need to give it to them and support them. Not to say that, we have to put up with, disruption in the chat or anything like that, but we have to be respectful. And let's clean this place up a little bit, because I've been getting a lot of complaints from people who have been complaining about, in the chat. And I don't monitor the chat that much because I'm busy producing the show and trying to think of intelligent things to say on here so that I don't make a fool of myself, because I'm not being thoughtful enough, because I'm reading crap in the chat, or good things in the chat, or just monitoring the chat. We've got mods in there, right, to help with that stuff. But let's just clean it up, because I'm getting complaints about hate. All right. And I don't want to censor people or ban people, but come on, that is not what we are about. I'll tell you this, the crap that's being fed into everybody's minds is making people mean, angry, combative, discourteous, just downright mean. I'm seeing it. Don't let it happen. Don't give in to the dark side. Don't give in to the mean, to the hate. Don't give in to it. Open your heart up. Find some compassion and some empathy. Try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and understand that, especially after what our government has done to us, and foreign governments too, but locking us down, censoring us, masking us up, forcing people to take a jibby-jabby thingy, and every other bloody thing they've done, no wonder people are so vulnerable. Mentally, psychologically. We're all there together. We are all in it together. And I hate saying that, because I'm not a collectivist. I'm about individual rights and freedoms, but it is true. We're all being subjected to this, myself included. And that's why I'm so mindful of this, guys. Please don't let this happen in the chat. Please make this a welcoming place for people, and let's support each other and fight back in a positive way, so that we're not getting people in trouble and encouraging people to run out and do stupid things, so that we don't get our people arrested needlessly to make martyrs out of them. Let's do this the right way, because we don't have to go down that path. And we need to take care of our own people here, and it's not a hard thing to do. All you got to do is just be a little bit compassionate, give them an ear, and if anybody needs to talk to me, you call me. Call me. I'll take it on. Because I love you guys. You are my family. You've become my family. All of you. And I know that, you guys know what I'm talking about. Let's just clean this stuff up. Okay? We need this. We need each other, and we need this platform. And if you see people in there sabotaging what we're doing, if you see people attacking, other people, or being negative or calling for violence, no. Shut that crap down. Not around here. That's not what we're about. Not going to put up with it. That's not censorship. That's just dealing with malicious, negative people who are here to be destructive. That's not exercising free speech. You want to go do that stuff, there's lots of other places to go. If that's why you're here tonight, get the hell out. I don't want you. I don't care if I've got the biggest audience. I'm here to do what's right. I'm here to practice real journalism, balanced journalism, and I'm not going to put up with it. Because free speech is literally under assault by people who are not acting in good faith. When it comes to free speech, they're abusing free speech rights in order to propagate negative messaging and to fill your heads full of negative crap. It's absolutely happening. We might even talk about it a little bit. There's evidence of it out there, even tonight, in a really blatant way. And we'll dig into a little bit of it tonight, I think. But that's not the point of this. It's just look how serious this thing got. I get a phone call from somebody who's right on the edge because of what happened in the chat, where they didn't get the support that they need, and they are part of our family. I'm asking for compassion and hope and help and positivity, and let's get there. That's what we're about here. There's so much negative stuff that's going on in the world, and we cover so much of it here. I know that it screws with people's heads, mine included. It's hard to stay grounded. It's hard to not lose your mind in this world that is insane. And it has gone insane, but don't let it happen here. This is the place where you'll find the path back. Begging you. I am begging you.
Yeah, social media has done this to people, that we don't have that face-to-face interaction. People get a lot bolder and colder. Even good people lose their way and get cold and heartless online because they're hiding behind the keyboard. And we all know, like you said, there will be trolls purposefully, willfully, and with malice aforethought coming to places like this to try to incite you. And Rick is right. Free speech ends at incitement. That is unlawful. That is criminal. We discussed before the fire in the crowded theater thing. That's not opinion. That's not free speech. That is fraud, if there is none, and potential incitement. So yeah, we have to be mindful, and we don't know where others are in their space. And if you suspect a troll, just don't engage.
Yeah. Enough said. Love you guys. And I know you're going to do the right thing. And let's just move on. Okay? Thank you, everybody. Joseph, let's move on to your story about, to get into why you're here tonight. And it is related to social media, and it is related to, the information war. Just go ahead and explain. The Canadian censorship laws, bleeding over across the border and having an effect on what you were trying to do as a journalist. Please explain.
Now, yeah. Putting the cart before the horse, putting the end up front. The censorship went away today, but that doesn't mean they get a pass. Fascist Book, I think, was floating a balloon as an attempt to influence the upcoming elections by attempting to see if they could get away with applying the Canadian censorship, the news law, to me as a U.S. citizen. I tried to share something at beforeitsnews.com, and the subcategory was Christian news. So news is all throughout the post, and they shut it down. They blocked it. I wish I would have taken a screenshot. I mean, I know better. I should have taken a screenshot of there, but it literally said prohibited content because of the Canadian news laws, or, I forget exactly how it was worded, but that's exactly what it was, because it was potentially inconvenient information, while factual, to the left, whether it be Canadian left or U.S. left. They want to shut that down. Anything that's not convenient to the left, they want only the leftist media to be the pre-approved sources and propaganda peddlers, and not allow us to respond in any way, shape, or form.
So is this a copy of the article that you were trying to post on Facebook?
Yeah, that's the article. And again, I tried I posted it on all my social media platforms, the same post. Facebook was the only place had any censorship issue. No problem with Gab or Getter or MeWe or Spreely or, TLB. No problem anywhere, but it's going to try to get you to subscribe, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, no other. So I went to Gab and copied the exact post and tried again right before this broadcast, and it went through. But I suspect, again, it wasn't a mistake, that they were floating it to see what kind of feedback and pushback they would get, in hopes that at some point they will indeed say, as part of our terms of service, we're in out of fairness, or whatever bull they'll try to peddle, we're going to apply the Canadian law to all of North America or something like that. That's what I think they're leaning towards, and it's purposeful, willful, malice of forethought attempt to censor going into the election again. That's where I stand on it. That's obviously my opinion. I can't have any facts. We need congressional hearings still on Section 230 and stripping them of a lot of their protections. And as part of that, we need to dig down again for memos. Is there a smoking gun that they literally did conspire to try that to see if they could get away with it? Like we know when Elon took over Twitter, now X, a lot of the memos then he released and showed literal conspiring behind the scenes to censor one.
Oops, we lost you there for a sec.
Yeah.
That was my fault. That wasn't the government. Sorry about that. Anyway, continue there, Joseph.
Well, that's about it, really. It's just I'm surprised that they reversed course as quickly as they did. Again, and I'm glad. I thought, well, we better try it again today. Again, just as this channel is about facts and dealing in all truth, the whole truth, I could have not bothered, and we could have went on this whole segment saying, hey, it's probably still no, we deal in facts and truth here. I needed to test it, and indeed it did go through. But again, that doesn't excuse any, and again, I can't buy that it's an accident, that it just somehow a minor code thing happen, or them potentially wanting to say, well, you say you're in Detroit, but maybe you're really in Windsor posing as a Detroiter to skirt the Canadian law. None of that potential. We suspect, here's your chance to appeal.
Yeah.
None of that.
And to explain to our U.S. viewers who maybe are not familiar with what we're talking about, the Canadian government recently passed new legislation that requires social media companies to pay the government a tax that is then given. Well, they have to pay a fee really to the mainstream legacy media, or if they're going to run news content. So they have to pay the mainstream legacy media for the content they were going to post on social media. So Facebook, Meta, Zuckerberg said, well, we're just not going to carry news content anymore then. And so all news content now on Meta platforms is banned. And that's the unintended consequence of the Trudeau regime's censorship bill, which is now law. And now it's actually bleeding over into the States, into the Detroit area, maybe beyond, and affecting Joseph. And our Maverick news page has been shut down as a result of that, because we are an actual news organization. Not that we were going to get any money because we're not mainstream legacy, but we're news. So they just shut the page down. We're banned on all of our pages except for my main personal page where I can still post some stuff, but it's suppressed and there's really not much reach there at all anymore, where we used to get thousands and thousands and thousands of people, engaged every single day. Now we get pretty much nothing on Facebook, and that's a result of this. But now it's bleeding over into the US, and I don't even know if this is legal, but I guess they can do whatever they want because they're a private company. What do you think, Joseph?
Yeah, at the end of the day, the bottom line does remain they are a private company and they can amend their terms of service as they so deem fit. So if they wanted to do that and make that the standard, they could do that. But we all seen them meddle in elections prior. So I can't buy any innocent reason for this other than a desire to shut down one side's content. And legacy media sites that often peddle misinformation and then bury a correction on page 1000 3 weeks later, when they knowingly up front likely peddled the misinformation they knew they would have to correct later. That's what they want out there. Anything, again, the left, whether it be Canadian or US, they want to support Trudeau. They want to support Biden.
Yeah. I think Facebook has really shot itself in the foot, or Mark Zuckerberg has shot Facebook in the foot, because without this news content on there, I think that their engagement is way down. I don't think the platform is nearly as valuable as it was in Canada. I don't spend nearly as much time on the platform myself as I used to, because it just doesn't interest me as much. I get fed a lot of stuff about music now and sports, which, I have, a little bit of interest here and there, and some entertainment stuff, but there's no news content to speak of on there anymore. What do you think's going to happen in the long run if they keep this up?
Yeah, I think there's little they can do as far as your side of things go because of the law. Although, again, they're choosing to do it the way they're doing it rather than pay. But to your point about diminished engagement, survey after survey after survey has shown younger people claim they get their news from social media shares and posts. So you take that away and they're going elsewhere where they can continue to get that, even if it's, and I think a lot of times they're seeking confirmation bias rather than objective news.
How much do you rely on Facebook? And are you on Instagram at all?
Yeah, I am on Instagram, but not a whole lot, not like a lot of people. I try to vary my content between, fun stuff, but it's usually sharing political stuff. And indeed, the counter narrative to the misinformation that's being provided by liberal left media. But yeah, other than that, social media, I don't engage. Every once in a while, I'll throw up a music video because don't be a one-trick pony, right? or you're kind of boring.
Well, but you're posting again now, and I guess that's important. I guess we'll have to monitor things.
Yeah, and if they pull it again, I will definitely make sure I get a screenshot next time so we know the exact wording they use. But yeah, it specifically said due to Canadian law and news content. And again, with that article being on beforeitsnews.com, news is in the name, and under the Christian news category, the word news appeared all over, and the AI freaked out, apparently.
So, do you think it's because you're sorry to get you in trouble? Is it because you're associated with me,
Well, yeah,
Canadian?
that could be too, right? Yeah. Right, yeah, no doubt. I mean, because I've shared, uh, and you were on my show talking about gray areas. So yeah,
Yeah.
you and I are linked for better or worse. Like it or not, I guess we're online married.
Oh, I'm so sorry that I got you in Facebook jail there for a little while, Joseph. I hope it wasn't because of me, but I suspect that your connection to me must have had something to do with it. Trudeau
Yeah,
probably. You know what it was? It's because first Tucker Carlson called Justin Trudeau to say he was on his way to Canada to liberate us, and then I called up Justin Trudeau and I left him a message, and I warned him that Tucker Carlson was coming to Canada, and I asked him if he was going to have him arrested at the border, but he didn't do that. I think he must have misunderstood me. So Trudeau must have called up Mark Zuckerberg and said, "Hey, you better put Joseph Leonard in Facebook jail." So they missed the target.
yeah. Now, to be clear, though, yeah, they did not. My initial Joseph M. Leonard account is still suspended, an account that I had for like 15 years,
Yeah.
right? So I am on Facebook under Martin Keeler, an alias, for now, just as Twitter still has my primary J. Leonard Detroit account shut down. I'm there under J. Leonard Author, mainly to promote my book and that. But yeah, so they didn't suspend me this time or put me in jail. They just flat out said, nope, we're not going to even let you post it to see and consider if it's valid or not. We're just saying flat out no, right up front, no chance for anybody to see it.
Yeah. And what we do here is powerful, and I'm going to show you something here. A couple nights ago, we ran an interview with Kayla Pollock, who is in a wheelchair, quadriplegic, has filed a claim with the Vaccine Injury Support Program in Canada, the government program. I don't want to get into all the details because we're on YouTube and Facebook, and they may not like what is in the paperwork. But there's a big fundraiser that was started with Veterans for Freedom, and we did the interview with Kayla, and as a result, I'm going to show you what's been going on with that. Now, they're trying to get her a support dog, and they're going to be able to do it now because they had a $20,000 fundraising goal, and in the course of a couple of days, as a result of the online media efforts to raise awareness, 22,100, and the initial goal was 20,000, and they've increased that now to $80,000. But they met the first goal of 20, and now they've surpassed it up to 22,100. The money is just a rolling in, and that's good because Kayla is in a wheelchair, and she doesn't just need a service dog. She needs like a wheelchair accessible vehicle as well to get around, and they're very expensive. So it just shows how powerful media is, and I'm just glad that we could be helpful with our platform here.
If and when you put something like that up on, as was shown there, give, send, go. Whereas I just got into it on social media with somebody who was saying something about the shadiness of GoFundMe. And I said, where have you been? They've been, for years, they have taken down things that clearly shouldn't be an issue and left other things up that people complain left and right. This sounds like fraud, but it stays there for years. So yeah, there's give, send, go, and there's another one, and I had to say it to them too. I still can't remember what that other one's called, but give, send, go I've used, and then another one alternative to GoFundMe.
Yeah. And so I'm really appreciative of the support you guys give this channel, because then we're able to then in turn promote stuff like that and make a difference, hopefully, in somebody's life in a positive way. And that's because of you guys supporting the channel, keep the operation going, and also by supporting the various causes that come forward here as well. So, a great news story. Not that Kayla's story is a great news story. It's very tragic, but it just shows you how there's always some positivity that comes out of it, right? People step up around here. So that's a great thing. And thank you to all of you. Thank you. So with that, Joseph, let's take a little bit of a break. And when we come back, we'll continue with the news of the day.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
And we're back. So, sir, I don't know if this is maybe the right order to do the stories in tonight, but I wanted to talk about these Trump sneakers.
Oh, all right. Again, we deal in truth, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'm going to upset some people again. I've never got the allure of celebrity sneaker stuff, like the Jordan stuff and that. But hey, if there's going to be suckers, in my opinion, out there going to pay $400 for a set of sneakers just because Trump's name on it, then, go for it. If I could get $400 for sneakers with my name on it, oh, you could bet I would do it. I'm a capitalist, so I'm not saying that. But to be fair and to be honest, we have to deal in the question, because I've not looked yet. I've not heard. A lot of Trump's clothing still is made in Mexico. Where were these sneakers made? Right?
Wow, $400, and they sold out only 1,000 pairs. So they're obviously a collector's item. Do you think that they are attractive or ugly?
I think the red ones aren't so bad. I think the gold ones are actually indeed rather ugly, but right? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But if I'm going to pay $400 for gold sneakers, it better be gold leaf produced painted dye on them. So there's literal gold leaf in the shoe. See, now the red and the white one there, looks pretty good, but obviously the ultra limited may never be seen again gold version is going to attract a lot more money, and demand, supply and demand. I get all that, and again, I don't hold anything against them for putting out the shoe, but I'm sorry, it's just my opinion. I don't get the celebrity shoe worship stuff.
Yeah, I think the red and the white ones actually look pretty good. I'd wear those, but not if I'm paying that kind of money. I'm sort of a, $39.95 tops.
Yeah. Well, now you look; those are $190.
$50.
So these are the cheap version.
Yeah,
the $199 version. Even at that price, to me, that's a little much for
Oh, there's
shoes. I mean,
Victory 47 perfume by President Trump. What does it smell like? Does it smell like victory?
yeah, it's. I don't think I want to go down that rabbit hole.
Oh my. $99 for Trump perfume or cologne. Wow, I wonder what the difference in the smell is, and what happens if you have, a couple, and they're both wearing the Trump colognes. Do they clash, or are they designed to blend together the aroma of victory?
Yeah, and again, I'm sorry, I just don't understand. You want him to be president, and I am supporting Trump Gnome 2024 is my preferred ticket for 2024. Donate to the campaign. But I mean, the other side of that coin is, I guess, people say, I'm getting something at least for this money.
There was
And
there was a limit of 3 pairs per customer. I just saw that. You can only get 3 at $400 a pair.
so but I mean, if you're really a fan, and again, to me, this is more the celebrity aspect than the presidential, because I mean, we've certainly not seen this kind of thing before. But again, I mean, Trump being a master marketer and, dealing in promotion and, The Apprentice, self-celebrity, self-promotion. So it makes sense that he would do this.
I didn't even know he unveiled these at SneakerCon in Philadelphia. I didn't even know there was such a thing as SneakerCon. What's SneakerCon? It's a trade show for
Yep.
for sneaker fans?
I think there's a con for probably everything, and some would probably dare say, right? Yeah, and I mean that in both sense of the word. Yeah, convention and a con you out of your money sense. Yeah, but again, hey,
Oh man.
if people are willing to spend it, again, if I could get away with doing it, I would too.
I suppose $400 a pop. Wow. Wowzer. Wow.
There's probably even a broccoli con, right? I mean, nowadays there's so much convention space, and anything and everything you sell, promotion is required. So yeah, Comic Con, Sneaker Con, Broccoli Con, who knows?
This is all so American. Like as a Canadian looking down there, like I'll tell you, I don't think that if any prime minister put out shoes for $400, even in Canadian dollars, which is worth about $1.50 US, I don't think anybody would buy them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was when Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Justin's father, was prime minister. Somebody came out with a line of bottled water called Pierre A. Get it? Like Perrier
yeah,
water?
yeah,
Pierre
yeah.
A. And it didn't last. Nobody, I don't think anybody bought it. It was funny. But, here's, and people are doing online reviews of these things. Let's take a look at this.
Yeah, those gold ones look ugly.
Check out these Trump ones. $400 retail on these. Check these out. Check the box too. It says Trump, friends and family. Then when you open it, it comes with like a gold wrapping paper. Check these. These are crazy. Look how many Trumps. And on the friends and family pairs, he signed them. Look at that.
You know what? I think Barack Obama, with the whole identity politics, first black, although he was first mulatto, that's not derogatory, that's factual. He had a black father and a white mother. That makes him a mulatto. That doesn't make it derogatory to say that, but the whole first black president supposedly thing, he probably could have done this, but they didn't think of it, obviously.
Bill Clinton said that he was the first black president, or somebody dubbed him the first black president.
Yeah.
And he wasn't black at all. But, about my policies support the black community, and,
Yeah, but there sure wasn't going to be anybody buying H.W. Bush sneakers.
Yeah, well, this guy here, this online influencer, I don't know what this guy's name is, but he's obviously not in the MAGA camp for a variety of reasons, which will become self-evident, and is predicting more legal woes for Donald Trump as a result of putting red soles on his special Trump collectible sneakers.
You've probably seen so many videos already about Donald Jehoshaphat Trump and his stupid, ugly $400 sneakers he's peddling. But one thing I haven't seen anyone mention is I think he's going to get sued for them. Look closely. I know it's hard because they're so ugly, but they have red bottoms. Solid red bottoms. Now, Christian Louboutin owns the trademark for red bottom shoes, unless a shoe is also solid red. They have won so many lawsuits for people using red bottoms. And you might be saying, but the shoes are sneakers and those are heels. Doesn't matter. And in case you were wondering, yes, they also make sneakers. The irony of Donald Trump selling sneakers to try and pay off his legal bills with something that's probably going to get him slapped with another very big lawsuit is so deliciously comical. All right, my...
Well, that clearly is motivated out of Trump derangement syndrome. However, again, factually and honestly dealing with reality, he might have a valid point if indeed they hold a patent for that.
Yeah, it could be. He could be in a lot of trouble. And how about this guy? You tell me after listening to this, Joseph, if you think this gentleman suffers from Trump derangement syndrome.
Well, folks, these songs write themselves. I call this one Sneakers to Suckers. He never worked a hard day at the factory, never walked down one country road. His daddy gave him $1 million, and he calls that a small loan. Yet he's fooled so many blue collars into thinking he could clean up their mess. He wouldn't piss on them if they were dying, wipe his nose on their Sunday best. Now he's out hawking sneakers to suckers. There's one born every day. They can't put food on their table, but for him they'll scrape up and pay. Trading cards and mugshots for a tiny piece of his suit. He's out hawking sneakers to suckers, but he wouldn't walk a mile in their shoes.
Again,
TDS.
Yeah, but is there again a hint of validity in there anywhere? Would he write a song about Michael Jordan's shoes, becoming multimillionaire to selling shoes to poor families who couldn't put food on their table, but they wanted to wear $500 Air Jordans to school to show off? Sneakers.
Is that what some of those things sold for? Like, I don't know.
Oh, back when? Yeah, that one ultra limited line. I hate to adjust that for inflation today. But yeah, so do I agree with the sneakers for suckers line? Because again, I don't get it. I never have gotten the whole celebrity hawking thing. And there are indeed, will always be somebody willing to buy virtually anything. So again, knock yourself out if you can do it. I don't blame Trump for doing this, although he may have trouble with that red sole problem. Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's like I say, it's so very, very American.
Hey, I'm a free market guy.
Yeah, hey man, if people want to buy them and he wants to sell them, free market, baby. You go ahead.
Although,
And here's the thing: I think that these people who bought these shoes, they may not be suckers because they are collectible. I bet you hold on to those things, and at some point down the road, you'll probably get big money for them. This is not Beanie Babies, right? This is a president of the United States, an actual product. It's a very limited edition thing, and just knowing what I know about collectibles, people will collect stuff. It's just like I can see it 10 years from now. $5,000. Who's gonna bid? Who bids 5150, 5150, going once, going twice, 5200, sold to the man in the back for $6,350.
yep. I mean, given the right Beanie Babies, Cabbage Patch. I mean, just since the '80s, that concept of collecting virtually anything, as long as you're not wearing it or using it, and especially if you can keep it in and with the original packaging rather than wanting to wear them around town, yes, it can be a somewhat sound investment because, again, these are going to be somewhat limited. But again, not being a Trump cultist or Trump derangement syndrome, like I think those other ones won, dealing straight down the middle analysis, I've got to honestly ask the question, where were these made? You can't go around still with the MAGA and bringing things back to America. I want to know where these shoes were made.
Well,
Are you
let's
trying to
it
look
up.
that up?
I'm
Yeah.
looking it up right now. Let's find out. Let's do some investigative journalism.
If you'll be able to find that information, since this story is still new and unfolding. But again, a
says
lot
here-
of his clothing does still come from Mexico. If anybody can afford to put an apparel company in America to make his entire clothing line indeed American, he could do that. He hasn't. So I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not going to call out somebody and give him a pass on it. I've got to call him out because that's just part of this show dealing in honesty and reality.
Well, you want a dose of reality? It's just what I said. Look, here's a CEO of some company. I'm going to bring this up. I just came across this trying to find the information about where they're made. And here's some guy who went to an auction and bid like $9,000 and won an autographed pair of these sneakers. Hang on a second here. Let me bring it up. This is crazy stuff. Now, I said you might not be a sucker if you buy
quick.
these things.
That's real
Because
quick turnaround.
that quick. Oh yeah, here, look at this. This guy bid $9,000 at an auction already to get a pair of these autographed sneakers from $400 to what was it, $9,000. No audio. $9,000.
So what was your winning bid? 9,000. And let's see the signature. All right. Congratulations.
Now,
$9,000.
yeah. And years from now, he may indeed get quite a bit. But again, you got to adjust for inflation. I mean,
this guy's name is Roman Scharf, founder and CEO of Luxury Bazaar, a luxury watch dealer.
And you know what? For him, this is a shrewd investment, not just from the collectible standpoint. You just mentioned his company. This is potential publicity for him and his company. That's a sound free market investment.
There you go. And you're right. Like I don't see in this story that they says where to buy, where made, and it doesn't tell us where they're made. Let's see. Is there any other place on here that tells us where they're made? Donald Trump sneakers made in China claim erupts as...
Oh, no doubt that would be the claim. What is factual? If it were made elsewhere, I would say Mexico, potentially. But because, again, his ties
just like these
still come from Mexico. Unless if he's changed that recently. The last I'd investigated and looked into it, a lot of his luxury ties were still being manufactured in Mexico. That may have changed by now. So please trust but verify, as Reagan would say. Things can change. Things can be fluid. I hope he's brought all his clothing line back to the United States, because we've got a jeans company here in Detroit. The jeans are very expensive. I'm not in the market for jeans, even Wranglers or Levi's, let alone expensive Detroit-made jeans. But apparel companies are starting to come back, but you do pay a premium for the Made in America label.
Says here, ex-user Coffee at Coffee Time News was one of the many who took to X to allege that the sneakers were made in China. They attached an image of the inner collar of the shoe where one could see the size of the sneakers. In the same, viewers could also notice an illegible print that allegedly claimed that the pairs were made in China.
I would hope not. I mean,
I would hope not too.
Mexico's bad enough, but at least Mexico, you can claim he redid what did they call the agreement after he redid NAFTA? So I mean, if it's
the
still
USMCA.
There you go. Right. YMCA. No, the USMCA, not the Village People YMCA. But yeah, I mean, you can argue if it's at least on the North American continent. But China, I'd have a major problem with.
Yeah, see here it says, oh, look at all these posts on X, and I don't know where these speakers are made. I see all these claims and yet no affirmation of made in America one way or the other. But Trump is making China great again. All of Trump's crap is made in China. Hypocrite.
Yeah, no. See, I saw a tweet a month ago, like of a hat.
That's pretty good. Anyone know if Trump's new air treasons are made in China?
Hey, that's clever. That's clever. But somebody showed a knockoff MAGA hat made in China. Yeah, that's a knockoff.
Yeah.
You're being disingenuous. Or you were the
Today
sucker
in Philadelphia,
thinking you were buying original.
It's a convention to show off what's new and what's hot in the sneaker world. But today, in a twist, former President Donald Trump showed up.
Here we go.
NBC 10 political reporter Lauren Make joins us in the newsroom. Lauren, you were there as well. Tell us more.
Yeah, Tracy, this was not your typical campaign stop. It was part political stop, part sales stop. And I'm not talking about selling a candidate. The former president introduced a new line of sneakers today at this sneaker-themed event. He held up gold sneakers in front of a screen that showed a web address for Trump sneakers. On that site, sneakers were selling for $199 to $399, and there was also Trump-themed cologne for sale. Now, Trump today, talking about the sneaker line, said he had wanted to do this for years. This does come today, the day after a judge issued a more than $350 million judgment against the former president in a civil fraud trial. Now, Trump only spoke today for about 5 minutes or so, much shorter than we usually see. Here's part of what he told the crowd and what I heard from people there.
What's the most important thing? To go out and vote, right? We have to go out and vote. We got to get young people out to vote. And you're going to vote, and we're going to turn this thing around. This country's not doing so well. We're going to turn this country around fast. We're going to turn it around fast. And we're going to remember the young people, and we're going to remember SneakerCon. You know that. We're going to remember the young people especially that wear sneakers, right?
Former President Donald Trump showing up here. What do you think about that?
I love it. I love he's trying to get in touch with the youth. He's trying to get some young voters. I personally support him.
You guys voted in the 2020 election?
Yes.
Who did you vote for?
I actually voted for Donald Trump in the 2020 election.
You did? So he could get you back again.
He could.
Former President Trump came here to talk to folks. What do you think about the fact that he came here to talk to folks here today?
Honestly, I think it was a waste of time.
Why?
This is not a political event, and this is not a political arena. And sometimes folks get caught up in the moment and don't understand the bigger picture. And I think for someone who's running for president, they need to be a little more serious about what the issues are and what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Well, not to argue with him, but, and the reporter said it too, part political stop. We thought Obama, because of the sycophant left media, got a lot of free, unearned, or, earned media, whatever, right? Non-paid for the airtime. Donald Trump is brilliant at that. And that's in part, no doubt, what is driving some of this beyond just the marketing and making some money. Free, unearned media coverage he's getting. Again, Obama got it because they were sycophants wanting to kiss his butt. Now it's all Trump hate, right? Anything to criticize Trump, hate on Trump, they can't help themselves. They put him on their airwaves.
Do you think this really does help him? I mean, to me, this is, on the one hand, I guess it gets him a lot of attention. To me, it's a little bit tacky. And I mean, when I say it's so American, America just runs that full spectrum, right? From very high-end, classy to, flea market. And even though these are selling for $400, to me, this looks like flea market stuff. And then I'm thinking also of the NFT thing, the collectible trading card, digital collectible trading cards that they launched for Trump. And then I remember even Steve Bannon, when that happened, coming out saying, I just can't do this anymore. Right. It's like,
right. That was my reaction with the digital cards too. It's like, oh my God, really? So I get that guy's point. We want a president to be a certain amount above, but I mean, this is just Trump. And that's why people love Trump, and blue collar people do gravitate in some degree. And attracting younger people potentially, because again, that sneaker market, other than higher end collectors, is usually a younger person thing. So it's just Trump being Trump. We've not had a president ever before. Reagan had the celebrity factor, right? The actor and the spokesperson for GE. So a lot of Reagan Democrats, we never thought in these terms, but looking back, because in fact, my next the libertybeacon.com piece, the lessons from Reagan I've got coming Saturday, comparing the two. Reagan never got control of the House of Representatives and only had it for 2 of his 8 years of the Senate. Why? Looking back, hindsight 2020, there was Reagan cultism going on. They voted for Reagan out of celebrity, but nothing flowed down ballot. If they were in love with his policy, they should have flowed the love down ballot so they could help him get his policy. So, some Trumpers don't like the Trump cult name, and I get that, but there is some of that. There is some of that. Again, I deal in reality. I'm not going to deny that reality, but there were Obama zombies, as I labeled them, up the yin yang his 8 years. So,
well, I think my answer lies in the fact that these things sold out right away. So, was it successful? Does it work for him? I guess the answer is a big yes because people ate the stuff up, and and then that guy bids $9,000. So are they suckers for buying them? Probably not. It'll probably be turn out to be to turn those gold sneakers into pure gold in the long run, right? So yeah.
Especially if he does get reelected. They won't be worth as much if he doesn't win in 2024.
Yeah.
But should he? But again, there's just even though there was some cultism, like I say, looking back during the Reagan years, being honest, I deal in honest analysis, and that upsets people at times. Even though I'm supporting Trump, I'm going to call him out for antics, but there's been no one like him. But this is just who he is. It makes people have Trump derangement syndrome, but it endears him to even more people. Those blue collar people the guy was singing about as being suckers. No, they understand America is a capitalist nation, and they want more capitalism, more free markets, more, which means more jobs and better pay. They get that connection, whereas the guy singing out of his Trump derangement syndrome will never, ever get that.
Yeah. What something is worth depends on how much demand there is for it, how people value it, and if they affix, the value of something is based not just on what it costs to manufacture it. It's about perceived value, rarity, scarcity, what it's attached to. That's what makes these things collectible.
Emotional attachment.
Yeah. No, it's they're if people are paying $400 a pop, that's what they're worth. That's what they're worth. Yeah, and maybe more since that guy paid $9,000.
Yeah, the next round will probably be $7 or $8.99, right?
Yeah. So it's actually not. It's not. When they're saying they're not worth that, they're just wrong, because clearly they are, because people just paid $400 a pop to buy 1,000 pairs.
If the news reports were Trump introduces sneakers, sold 10% of them today. Then you could argue. Obviously, they're not worth that. They're not selling like hotcakes. But when you sell out overnight, again, if somebody's willing to pay it, they're worth it.
So before we move on, I was on Lori's program, Strange Bedfellows, the other night with Tyler Nixon. We were talking about who the running mate might be for Donald Trump. Now I know what you want. Lori was saying RFK Jr. I think Tyler was kind of, thinking maybe, could be okay. I say it's going to be Tulsi Gabbard.
I think I've said this on your show before. There's a lot of people angling for RFK for, kind of the unity ticket, a non-Republican, like McCain floated Joe Lieberman. And that might have been a better choice. I love Sarah Palin, but Lieberman, that unity ticket, that might have worked then. Look back to way back when, though, Abraham Lincoln had a unity ticket with Democrat Johnson. And that is what in part got him killed, because they wanted the Democrat to replace him. And what did the first act that the Democrat did after Lincoln's death? Canceled the 40 acres and a mule reparations program to appease his Southern Democrat backers. So it could be dangerous. It could be very dangerous to go that route. But yeah, Tulsi Gabbard is, I hear a lot of people say it. I've met her. I like her as a person, but I will say endlessly, she's a Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum stooge. She's only become an independent so she could potentially angle for a Trump VP slot, because it's the only way, her only shot getting anywhere near the White House. So I don't support RFK or Gabbard for VP, but I understand some people's thinking behind it to broaden that base and potentially bring in some independents that he might not otherwise get. But, you know, as Carville said, it's the economy, stupid. If Trump can't win on the economy issues, despite the leftist and the media spin about how great things are, you going to believe us or your own lying bank account that's evaporating, right?
You mentioned Reagan, and I don't know why I thought of this, but with Biden losing his mind, literally, it reminds me of the tail end of Reagan's presidency, where he was clearly beginning to suffer from some dementia or forgetfulness. He just wasn't, as on cue as he should have been near the end. And then they started to just pull him back a little bit. Do you remember that? And then, it was pretty clear that other people were propping him up and, running things behind the scenes, because I don't think he was fully capable at the end. I think that being shot, when he got shot, I think that affected his health more than people realized. Do you recall that? And I'm just interested in your comments with regard to that, and compare that situation to what we have with Biden today.
Yeah, well, no comparison between that and now. And they tried to make the same attacks on Margaret Thatcher, though, too, about being demented and not there, and should be removed for mental reasons and all that stuff. And indeed, Margaret Thatcher later in life, after her service, I think did indeed succumb to dementia. Anyone who's over 70, they've engaged in these kind of attacks. It is just so damn obvious with this guy. Now, you could talk about gaffes, because I've talked about this elsewhere. We all make mistakes. We all have brain farts. Everybody can have a gaffe. They can forget a name. They can mess up a name. But these aren't gaffes with Joe Biden. These happen on a minute to minute basis, not some occasional rare happenstance that can and does happen to almost everyone. But the left can't be honest about that difference.
Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll come back, and then we're going to talk about this Navalny narrative. How does that sound? You up for that?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. All right. Stick with me. I'll be right back.
Feel the vibrations. Our quest continues. The truth is out there. We are Mavericks.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
And we're back. Have you been watching this story about Alexei Navalny?
Yep. And the thing that immediately came to mind is seeing all these Putin apologists. Oh, just a coincidence. Yeah, just like the Clinton body count. Hillary surrounded by dead people all the time. Just a coincidence. And
I shouldn't be laughing. It's terrible. It's tragic. I'm sorry. Continue. Don't let me stop you with my outburst.
I put in the chat. The Putin body count is higher than the Clinton body count. So that makes it darn near impossible to sell it just happened, just a coincidence.
Yeah, it's just whether you're talking about Prigozhin or now Navalny, it's pretty clear to me.
Yeah, how many opposition people have been poisoned by palladium? Oh, yeah, right. They just accidentally came across a palladium pill. Yeah. Oh.
So yeah, you're right, and I don't really want to. I don't even know if I should. Excuse me.
I understand.
I got poisoned. I think I've been poisoned for saying the wrong thing.
I understand your hesitation on this story because you got crazies on one side and crazies selling crazy on the other side. Again, the Putin haters, Putin ass kissers, atrocity apologists, as I called the one article that I wrote. And I hate to say this, but it's reality. I'm sorry. Sadly, there are some people out there that have Biden derangement syndrome too. It's a thing. If Biden were to say water is wet, they'd be all over the internet. How dare he say that?
I'm a little reluctant to even name some of these other streamers, these other shows. Some of the stuff they do I like, but it's just when I'm watching them, it's like the bias is so blatant right now. It's like, are you getting paid by the Russians, or you really just believe that this guy just keeled over and died from natural causes, even though they did a toxicology screen and found chemicals in his bloodstream that could croak him? I don't know, man. It's like I'm watching stuff today, and it's like these. I watched one, and it's like It's no evidence that he was even poisoned, and at any of these times. And even though they found the drugs in his system, it's actually the U.S. government that manufactures those bioengineered chemical warfare chemicals, and the media is lying to you, and I don't want any information at all from any NATO country because you can't believe any of it. And it's just like Russia did no wrong. Putin never did it. He never killed anybody. It's like he's golden, everything's clean over here. And it's the United States. If the guy died, it's because it's the United States' fault. The United States did it. And he's just a puppet of the CIA. And he got croaked because he deserved it anyways.
Of course. Because we've gone down this. Mossad.
There you go.
He was Mossad.
Yeah.
And they killed their own. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, but you're right. These Putin apologists, unfortunately, sadly, there are snowflakes on the right. There are who are emotionally hysterical and deal in BDS.
And
again,
if
Biden said water was wet, they would flip out. People deal in logic.
It's just here's a tip to my friends who pose as journalists but are actually propagandists. Okay, here's a little tip for you from an actual guy who's worked in the news business for like over 40 years. If you're gonna put out propaganda, we'll just call it that. I won't take it further than that. I could tonight, okay? But we'll just call it propaganda. If you're going to put that stuff out, what you really need to do to make yourself believable is you have to at least appear to try to be balanced a little bit. Because if you go too far, it just becomes way too obvious what you're doing. And that's what I've been seeing over the last few days, okay? So you might want to dial it back a little bit because you're blowing your cover.
Like most left and the media does regarding kissing Biden's and Trudeau's ass. Yeah, right.
And what a double standard too. It's like, if you all the prisoners on the U.S. side, they're that's terrible, right? And the CIA is guilty for every bad thing that's ever happened to America. But every bad thing that's ever happened to Russia and every other country. But as soon as you get a political prisoner in Russia, right? And I'm not okay. Navalny, he was in jail on they're politically motivated charges. There's no question about it. Now, did he break the law? Yeah, he probably did. But he's breaking a law for political reasons. And over here, anybody breaking the law for political reasons is unjustly in jail, even though they've broken the law. But over there, if somebody breaks that law and they're in jail for political purposes, they deserve it. You see, it's a double standard, right?
Yeah.
You got to be consistent. It's not. That's right there is how you can tell when somebody's in the bag, because it's like those political prisoners in the States, they're being persecuted. This political prisoner over here, he deserves it. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
And
shouldn't all the political prisoners have, right? No.
Yeah. And again, we've talked about Khashoggi before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jamal Khashoggi.
The Saudis killed an enemy of the state of Saudi Arabia. A Al-Qaeda apologist and propagandist who was deemed an enemy of their state. They killed him. People got all their panties in a bunch over that one depth, but all these Putin opponents all happened to die. Not a word, not a peep.
So here's where I stand on it, okay? If somebody breaks the law in that country, they might go to jail for it, and I can understand it. If they're being targeted unjustly for political reasons, I'm pretty much opposed to it. Even if you have broken the law and you're in jail, you don't deserve to be killed by your political opponent for it. okay, especially if it's for political reasons. So I'm against any political prisoner anywhere being killed, period. Whether it's in Russia, China, the United States, Canada, Mexico, Venezuela, whatever. Okay? I don't want political prisoners killed, even if they have broken the law. I can understand how the law might be used if it's, to put people in jail for these things. And that's the risk you take when you're playing politics in any given country and you're pushing up against, a powerful authoritarian opponent who's in power, whether it's in Russia or in Canada, and whether Justin Trudeau in Canada is using the power of the state to invoke the Emergencies Act at the time, right? Or whether it's Vladimir Putin or Joe Biden putting J6ers in jail. Like, you can have your views on it, but none of them deserve to freaking die. All right. And so, I don't think Jeffrey Epstein should have been Epsteined either. Okay. He should have just rotted in jail, but he got Epsteined. And so, you see, this is the kind of game these people play. They play by a different set of rules and they can get away with it. Okay. It's just like I've been saying, if you're that high up and you think that no one is above the law. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. When they're in that position, because the president can wake up in the morning and decide who he might bomb and how many people he might kill. And if you think it stops there, think again. All right, because the power that these people have is immense. Now, I still say that is honestly what is saving us right now is our system, because our system here still manages to limit the power to some degree of our politicians. In Russia, not so much. Okay?
Yeah, and in Russia, Putin, the Medved years, Medved was Putin's puppet. Putin has ruled Russia now longer than Stalin did. And so he's a dictator. But he was elected. Yeah, so was Hitler. Hitler was elected too. Yeah, right.
And not that I don't even really, as leaders go, I see a lot of attributes that Vladimir Putin has. He's strong. He gets the job done. He provides stability for his country. The economy is not in bad shape. He does a lot of positive things for his country. And I think that when you're in that position, you have to deal with the realities of, you just have to deal with reality. And the reality is you sometimes have people trying to kill you, like Prigozhin, who tried to stage that coup, right? And when that happened, and then Prigozhin and his mercenary troops stood down, I said, yeah, well, that guy's days are numbered. I said, you mark my words, that guy's going to be gone pretty soon. Sure enough, wasn't it strange how his plane just fell out of the sky about 2 or 3 weeks later? And that was the end of Mr. Prigozhin. All right. So you put 2 and 2 together, and then it's like, the Russian government's like, we have no idea what happened. I just don't know. This is the strangest thing. Right.
And no doubt, again, I say this to a lot of people who fall for what, in my opinion, is Putin's Christianity Act.
Yeah.
He's former KGB. He openly boasts he's going to put back the Soviet Union together. He knows Pope John Paul II and the Russian Orthodox Church was a big reason why the Soviet Union collapsed. He is allowing a certain degree of more freedom, right? When you've had a boot on your neck forever, a little bit of freedom seems like a lot. And he's some sectors of their economy or whatever, and good things. He hasn't always achieved those good things in, honest ways, let's just say. So, in the way I see it is Putin with this fake Christian act is fooling a lot of Americans. He said 2 things can be true at one time. He said it is America has swayed from its Judeo-Christian foundation roots. True statement? Absolutely. that doesn't mean his motivation is to be your friend. It means to make a useful idiot of you. And a lot of useful idiots fall for it. And a lot of Russians are falling for the fake Christian act too. Because again, he knows he has to give that little bit of freedom, that little bit of leeway, or he would never survive as long as he has.
So, folks, if you want to know who's actually a journalist and who's just in the bag for Russia, all you have to do right now is they've taken their masks off pretty much. Just go listen to what these guys are saying, and I'm just telling you, okay, if they're sitting there and they're like all, oh, there's no way he could have been killed by Putin, and it's like it's all the United States' fault, and this is why the guy got indebted, and and it's all the U.S. bad, and Putin and Russia all good. Just look for the extreme and the bias, and then listen to them. And if they're also saying, don't listen to anything you're hearing over here from the United States media at all. Don't listen to that at all. Don't listen to any of the NATO countries. We don't want to hear about any of that because that's all a lie. Okay, this guy's dead because of he either had a giant blood clot thingy brought on by whatever. It's the United States fault. CIA. It's the CIA again. It's always the CIA. The CIA apparently is responsible for all the death in the world, apparently. And I'm just like, I don't know of a country that they haven't overthrown. Just if you want to know whether you're getting, balance and impartiality or bias and information from a platform that's in the bag and maybe even being paid by Russia. And this is not Russia derangement syndrome. It's just blatantly clear to me. All right. So you can just see it right now. At least before there was like some attempt to kind of cloak it a little bit, right? But right now they've gone full court press on this thing. They've clearly got the talking points from, the Kremlin, and they're like, oh, okay, this is the script. I better read this right now. And it's
or they may end up dead next.
That's right. That's right. Or me. Now, that being said, I still respect Vladimir Putin. That's the way politics is done over there. Okay, I get it. I understand. It's okay. It's not okay, but I get it. Right? That's just the way it is. So, Mr. Navalny took his chances, and this is what he got. And this is the message that's sent, which is, don't even try to oppose me, okay? Don't try it. And that's what any government really that's trying to survive does, whether it's Vladimir Putin or Joe Biden with the J6ers or Justin Trudeau and the Emergencies Act invocation in Canada, et cetera, et cetera. And whether guys are guilty or not guilty, I mean, kind of doesn't matter. This is the treatment you're going to get when you're trying to vigorously oppose and kick out of power a sitting government.
Yeah, and two things bear repeating. Again, their line could be entertainable if there weren't the long list of Putin body count prior. And the other thing I've said when we've talked Ukraine, every side engages in propaganda. Every side. My side, your side, every side. But we try to deal in the good, the bad, the ugly, the possible versus the probable, the pros and the cons. And again, yes, is Zelensky corrupt? Absolutely. Is Biden corrupt? Absolutely. Is there money laundering going on? Absolutely, which is why I oppose sending money. I'm for the Ukrainian people, not Zelensky. I'm for bread and bullets, not money. But spare me because Putin or Zelensky and Biden are corrupt. This is the BDS. I gotta kiss Putin's ass now, who's as corrupt and double or triple or quadruple as corrupt and evil as Biden and Zelensky combined.
Yeah.
More than one thing can be true. right? More than one thing can be true at the same time. But we deal with people who are so tunnel visioned, like there can only be one narrative, only one thing that they can entertain. Their brain can't handle more than one thought, which is why you were on my show to discuss gray areas. Multiple things can be true and happening at once.
So let's move over here to this story about the Trump verdict and the 350 some million dollar fine that he was ordered to pay for allegedly, I'm still saying allegedly, even though they've convicted him, allegedly inflating the value of his assets or changing the values to get either better tax treatment or more favorable terms on loans. What are your thoughts on that before I run this reaction piece?
Okay, well, the Kathy Jokel, as I call her, not Hochul, Jokel, the New York governor. Oh, hey, don't worry, we're only doing this to Trump. Well, you admitted it's politically motivated. And I think you're going to play the clip from the Shark Tank guy, right?
Kevin O'Leary,
Yeah, you know, he's right. You know what this is? This is now a shot across the bow of all business people. This is now complete left-wing shakedown extortion. You give to Democrat campaigns and Democrat campaigns only, or your business might be next.
Yeah, and then O'Leary here today. Is this today? I think it is today, right? Yeah, just a short time ago. He's saying that he will never invest in New York again, and he says this is really a blow against confidence in investment in New York. So let's run this, and then I'll get you to comment, Joseph. Here's a Fox News interview.
We've got Kevin O'Leary back with us, O'Leary Ventures chairman, Shark Tank investor. You know, Kevin, you had mentioned, and it was a very profound kind of comment, that you know, some of these other businesses do have right to be concerned, whether they like Donald Trump or not. Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Well, this award, I mean, just leaving the whole Trump thing out of it and seeing what occurred here, and I'm no different than any other investor. I'm shocked at this. I can't even understand or fathom the decision at all. There's no rationale for it. And so let me give you a real-time experience I'm having regarding this, and I'm not the only one. It doesn't matter what the governor says. New York was already a loser state. Like California is a loser state. There are many loser states because of policy, high taxes, uncompetitive regulation. It was already on the top of the list of being a loser state. I would never invest in New York now, and I'm not the only person saying that. And here's a real-time situation. In development in real estate right now, the hottest asset class is very high-end data centers. They cost anywhere from $2.5 to $3.5 billion each. They're very expensive. They require low power. You need permits. But most of the major institutions in the world need more data centers, and that's why developers like me are doing this. Now, you need power. So New York has Niagara Falls. Normally, you'd consider that to put in one of these facilities, create 400 jobs, 5 more jobs for each of one of those for auxiliary services. I can't go to New York. So I'm going to Oklahoma, North Dakota, West Virginia. Governor Stitt, Kevin Stitt, my staff have met with him. Governor Burgum, the same thing. Governor Justice. Those are winner states. They don't do things like this. I have to syndicate that debt and all that equity. We're talking billions of dollars here. Do you think any foreign institution or any private equity firm or any pension fund would touch New York? No. And that's why New Yorkers should be concerned. The fine people of New York should ask themselves, why are we such a loser state? How are we going to attract business? It's not just the existing businesses that are fleeing out to Texas and Florida. What about new money like this that I'm talking about, like a $4 billion data center? Not a chance I would put that in New York. Zero probability, never. And so they've got a lot of work to do to find themselves getting out of this situation. This has all occurred post-pandemic. Winner states versus loser states. Look at Tennessee right now, fastest growing city in America, Nashville. Winner state, good policy, competitive taxes. You've got to start thinking about this in the context of winners and losers. New York, mega loser state.
So, Kevin, what did you think of Governor Hochul saying this is like a unique one and done because Donald Trump went too far and was so nefarious? You guys, if you're just doing what you should be doing, you have nothing to worry about. But they're very worried about it.
Yeah, we're very worried. Every investor is worried because where is the victim? Who lost money? This is some arbitrary decision a judge made. This policy and what this says, what does this say about the bar, the legal bar in New York? Aren't they going to question this judge? What is this? $355 million and there's dollars as a penalty and there's plus interest at 9% and there's no victim? I mean, I'm sorry, her words fall on deaf ears to everybody. There's nothing she can say to justify this decision. And this has nothing to do with Trump. Nothing to do with Trump. Forget about Trump. This is not a Trump situation. This is a New York problem now. The whole world is looking at this saying, what are you doing to yourselves?
The left has always done this. They're always pushing the envelope. They set a new precedent. As I said, it's now out there. You don't support us. You don't back us. You don't fund us. You could be next. Yeah, I'm just saying, It's mob. It's mob running the city. Pay us protection, or this could be you next, right? And as he said, or as I was saying, they always started one test case. It never, ever stops there with the left. They bend the rules, they break the rules, they set a new precedent, a new way of going after their enemies. It's the one guy first, but then when they see they can get away with it, it's always then another and another and another, and it becomes the norm rather than the exception from the left because they can't win on merit of their arguments.
Yeah, and as O'Leary said, and as others have said, as Donald Trump said, who lost money? Who got hurt? Nobody got hurt. Everybody got paid. All the bills got paid. All the promises were kept. Where's the crime? I'm having a real trouble seeing where the crime is. If he had inflated the values or adjusted the values, and then as a result of that, the lenders were exposed to undue risk or more risk than they should have been exposed to and didn't get paid. If he came up short and didn't meet his obligations, I could maybe start to understand, right? But to accuse him of cooking numbers and then in the end, like, he paid everybody off with what he owed them. He paid all his bills.
Yeah. O'Leary said on another show, a different clip I saw him, every developer or anyone who owns real estate, what's the Beatles song about Taxman or whatever, or is it another song about rich on tax day show up their home, it looks like like they're living in the projects, opulent, subulent. O'Leary said that everybody plays this game in the real estate market. You play up your value as best you can when it comes time to sell or to obtain money with that as collateral, and you downplay it when it comes tax time. Everybody plays that game. Individuals, when you're selling your house, you play it up. You want the top dollar. When you're buying a house, you're arguing, no, it's not worth anywhere near that. there's debate. There's opinion here. And the bottom line, again, at the end of the day, as O'Leary made the point on the other shows, the banks do their own appraising. If they didn't think it was worth what he said, and they didn't give him every penny he was asked or taking that for that collateral, they took it for a lesser amount that still covered the loans, right? They evaluated it their own level. Everybody's going to argue about what a value is worth. Like we were talking about the sneakers. Bottom line, it is only actually worth what someone eventually actually pays for it.
And I would say the judge maybe isn't in a position to evaluate the true value of Donald Trump's properties, just as the public isn't in a position to evaluate the true value of any of his assets or products, because look what just happened with his sneakers. Everybody, his opponents are saying they're not worth that kind of money, and then he sells out immediately at $400 a pair. They clearly don't understand free market economics. They don't understand the value of Donald Trump and the Trump brand.
Exactly right. And again, it only matters that the banks are only concerned via their own appraisals.
Yeah.
They want to loan for less than a property is worth in case of a default, because they're likely going to turn around and sell it for less to recoup their losses. Because if they wait on the market to get what it's worth, that takes time. But again, as we've both said, something ultimately only actually is worth what someone else pays for it.
That's right. And if they're willing to pay $400 for sneakers, as soon as Donald Trump buys a piece of property, just the fact that he owns it increases the value of it. It's like if he buys a car, right? If he bought a Corvette, down the road, when it goes to auction, if he sells that thing and some collector buys that Corvette, it's worth more than just it's worth more than it would be if it was just a Corvette. Now it was Donald Trump's Corvette, and now it's worth a lot more money because it belonged to a former or maybe even future president of the United States and a celebrity and somebody known worldwide. So that gives it provenance and that gives it value. People don't understand this stuff. Mar-a-Lago, that property is worth way more just because he bought it, owns it, and it has become world famous.
Yeah. I think we've talked cars before. I've owned 2 DeLoreans in my life. Remember back when Johnny Carson's DeLorean went for millions because somebody was willing to pay that? Yeah, DeLoreans sell pretty good, but not in the millions. Right. It sold that way, though, because it was Johnny Carson's DeLorean.
Yeah, that's right. That's the way it works, man. Whether people like it or not, and the judge might not like it, and people with Trump derangement syndrome might not understand it or like it, but that is the reality of the market, baby. So I don't know that as bombastic as you might think Donald Trump is, or as, you might think he exaggerates a lot, and I suppose he probably does, but maybe not as much as people think. It's because he brings home the bacon every time. The guy can't lose.
Yeah,
Well,
and again, I get it. I'm not looking to vote for choir boy leader. I'm voting for president, right? I've always said, though, character matters. Trump's character is indeed very lacking, but that's not what I'm voting on here.
So he didn't say anything about Navalny's death himself until I think today.
On Truth,
and so I had it queued up here. See if I can find the posts. What did you make of his hesitation to
I think he
comment on
wanted.
this.
I think he wanted time to read the room, see what others were
Yeah.
saying. He had to try, and by his post, I see where he's trying to thread the needle, because a lot of his supporters indeed are BDSers kissing Putin's ass. So at the same time, you could tell he wanted to come out and say he thought this was a political motivated event, but at the same time, being careful to be softer than he probably would have gone. It because a lot of, again, supporters are just so anti Biden, they've got to be pro Putin. So, not to alienate some of that, he tried to go moderation, I think.
His opponents, and I think most of the mainstream media, drawing attention to his tardiness in commenting on it. I think they're trying to suggest that maybe he's in the bag for Putin.
Oh, well, when hasn't that been happening? Meanwhile, need we remind, Hitlery is the one who did the Russian reset. Hitlery is the one that made the Uranium One deal with Putin.
Yeah,
Biden
here he is.
The one getting money from Moscow mayor wives.
And look at this reception he gets here from his fans. Come on, play.
It's the usual psychological projection from the left. Accuse everybody else what they've been guilty of doing. Being in bed with the Russians to some degree.
Yeah. This video's stuck.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Again, no one has had harsher sanctions on both Russia and China and Iran than Donald J. Trump. But yet, he's in bed with Putin. Biden lifted most of the sanctions, which made them a loyal, rich nation again, which gave them the money to be able to afford to expand the Ukraine war. Biden is trying to fund both sides of the war.
Well, this video won't play. That's okay. We don't need it. I'll bring this up. I'm going to scroll down his Truth Social and show you the posts that he made about Navalny's death. Here we go. Let's get up the Truth Social page, the official Donald Trump Truth Social page. All political prosecutions of your favorite president, me. Isn't it funny how he speaks?
But that's, and again, that's just him. That's his personality. Yeah. I don't like his personality
stop immediately,
either, but yeah.
We are in the middle of an election, perhaps the most important election in the history of our country, and these radical left lunatic prosecutors and judges are not allowed to be doing this. Why didn't they start 3 years ago? Because they wanted to interfere with the presidential election of 2024. That's why, according to Section 9-85.500 of the Justice Department's Justice Manual, federal prosecutor, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Oh, here's a Tucker Carlson thing. All right, let's go back here. Let's get back to the Donald Trump page. And where's he posting about Navalny? We had it. There it is. The sudden death. Can you see that on the screen? I had to flip off that tab.
We could see it, but we can't read the text.
Yeah, it's just, that's okay. Well, I'll read it here. Yeah. The sudden death of Alexei Navalny has made me more and more aware of what is happening in our country. It is a slow, steady progression with crooked, radical left politicians, prosecutors, and judges leading us down a path to destruction. Open borders, rigged elections, and grossly unfair courtroom decisions are destroying America. We are a nation in decline, a failing nation, MAGA 2024.
And I don't have a problem with any word in that and how he phrased it. Again, he tried to avoid any deal or mention of Putin to try to moderate his tone, but at the same time, correctly, in my opinion, point out the American left is acting certainly far more Putin-like than the guy they supposedly say is in bed with Russia. And again, who had sanctions on him? Trump. Who lifted the sanctions? Biden. But he's the one colluding with Russia. And we all know, and there's still people out there, the Steele dossier, bought and paid for by the Hillary campaign to a Russian asset to create a false Russian collusion delusion. That's all been proven. But yet, the Russian collusion of Trump is still a narrative. It's just unbelievable. There are some people who will never, ever let go of their delusions.
Well, there you go. Let me see if I've got anything else queued up here at the moment.
Oh, the other.
Oh, here's
the NATO. Ahead, yeah. The NATO comment from Trump the other day. Again, it's just the way he talks. He makes hyperbolic statements that he doesn't necessarily mean. He's not going to pull out of NATO. He's not putting NATO at jeopardy. He was the first president in forever that made NATO pay their damn bill as they agreed they would pay. Pony up. We cannot be your bank account. You agreed to pay 2% of GDP for your own defense. If you're not doing it, then there's going to be a problem. And he's just saying it in a manner that, they and the media can, of course, twist and distort. Oh, because the comment about they could do whatever they want if you're not paying, right? Like he's encouraging Putin, like he actually wants Putin to invade Poland. Come on. That's just, again, I'm not a fan of that side of Trump. Sometimes he says some really stupid things. But the point being is NATO needs to bleep and pony up and for their own defense and do more for Ukraine, not us.
And Yvonne says here the BRICS nations, now near 50% of the world population, and now dealing with their national currencies. The dollar, the U.S. dollar, is the national reserve, the world reserve currency, rejected. I think that's right on point. I think that we are in a war where economic warfare is part of this fifth generation warfare, and I think that's the main objective, honestly, of the United States rivals, is to undermine the Western economies by dethroning the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. They're doing that with BRICS.
Yep, absolutely. I've been warning about BRICS since it first became a notion. It is a very valid threat, and especially unless we in the United States starts to take our deficits and debt seriously, we're reaching levels that can never possibly be repaid. And some would say the left, Saul Alinsky, Cloward and Piven style, want us bankrupt like Russia went. So we can't pay our bills. We default on debt. And then for sure, the U.S. dollar is dead. And with much of that, the clout that makes us the world power we are.
Yes. So everything is changing. I don't think people are fully prepared for what will come if the dollar is dethroned. And you were talking about DeLoreans. You owned a couple, and SW says DeLorean had, that being John DeLorean, the man behind the creation of the DeLorean, had some pretty trippy business practices, like that cocaine deal where, he was maybe entrapped to get the funds to bail out his auto company, which ultimately did kind of fold.
Where do you go to get your reputation back? Again, the FBI in cahoots with GM, who was threatened by the DeLorean, upsetting the Corvette sales, wanted DeLorean, because remember, DeLorean was head of Pontiac. DeLorean car the DMC-10 could have been a Pontiac, but they wouldn't build. They didn't want him to do the GTO package either. That was a major success. So they wanted to kill DeLorean. The FBI indeed found someone in prison who said, I can set up DeLorean. And they did. Because you can watch those tapes. He never had anything to do with the cocaine. It was part of some overall supposed third and fourth hand deal that ultimately would have given him cash investment to help the company go longer. He wasn't involved in the cocaine, but again, that all comes out later after you're destroyed, after the company's dead.
And isn't this timely? And this, I didn't plan on speaking about DeLoreans and so on, but it's timely that we do, because I just saw yesterday, and maybe I'm behind the times, so maybe you can bring me up to speed, but I saw a trailer for Back to the Future 4. There's a new Back to the Future movie coming out. Did you know that? I didn't know until yesterday.
I hadn't heard that yet. And in fact, the first DeLorean I bought, I literally saw Back to the Future, and I loved the DeLorean from the start and wanted one before the movie.
Yeah.
The movie came out. I saw it in the theater. I literally left the theater, and a local lot had one in the used car lot. I bought it that night. And
wow.
yeah, I'm
Did you like the car? Because I heard that they had, some problems. They had, what was it, a Peugeot engine in them? Some of them, was it Peugeot?
Well, they had a Peugeot Renault Alliance,
right?
Yeah, to help manufacture parts of the car. Again, and people are trying to compare the DeLorean of then to today. It was like a Tucker. It was way ahead of its time, especially the twin turbo 6 that came out later. Had the twin turbo 6 came out earlier, they'd have sold a lot more of those cars too, and probably never gotten into trouble. But you can't compare DeLorean by today's standards. They were the first to have all automatic locks, all power windows, a whole lot of innovations like the Tucker. It was a great car, but you can't compare it to
wait.
that of today.
They were the DeLoreans were the first to have power windows? I don't think so.
No. All. They were standard.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. That would be two. Driver and passenger. Was there another power window?
No, just the two.
Just okay, so just the
but
two.
But again, and of course, they didn't invent the gull wing doors. They existed before. Mercedes still has several now. It's a very efficient door. The only more efficient door is the Scissor, but the Scissor has trouble of its own. It can't hold up to its own weight. The same with the DeLorean gull wings. The pistons weren't quite enough to really hold them open all the time. Even in Back to the Future movie, you see where he puts up the door and it kind of comes down on his head. If you don't put the door up just right, it could come back down on you. So it wasn't perfect, but it was way ahead of its time. And you look at Musk's stainless steel truck now as kind of an homage to it. So you can't compare it to today's vet, though.
What? Okay. Trivia question. What car actually inspired the DeLorean?
A Bricklin.
Yes.
A Lotus.
That's right. That's a Bricklin, yeah. Which was manufactured in Canada in the Maritimes. Yeah.
Yeah, the Bricklins were nice, too. The Bricklins were kind of a non-stainless steel version of the DeLorean. Yeah, and of course, then Pontiac rushed out the Fiero to try to be a cheap fiberglass ripoff of the DeLorean, since they were worried about it. And it too did have fire problems because of the rear engine and the way the electrical went through the back.
That's right.
DeLorean, again, wasn't perfect. It had some issues, just like the Fiero did, just like a lot of different cars are if they're rushed into production too quick.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see this film. And Michael J. Fox, it appears, is in the movie. So that's pretty cool. But they've got some new young actor that I saw in the trailer. And I don't want to run the trailer or I will get nailed with a copyright strike. But they've got some new guy playing the younger Michael J. Fox character.
You mentioned trivia. Who was actually cast to be Marty? It was actually Jason Stoltz. And you can find on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of the footage that was cut with him. And Back to the Future probably would have done okay. I thought he did a decent job. But Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox, just together, the chemistry took that film to an interstellar level that Stoltz couldn't take it.
Yeah. Well, and what a sad story with Michael J. Fox and his medical condition, but still able to be involved in this project, which is great. I mean, I have to say that it touched my heart when I saw that trailer, and I thought, wow, man, this is going to be so good. It's going to introduce this storyline, this franchise to this pop culture to a whole new generation. And for me, it's an important piece of Americana and bringing it back. And I think it's a good thing for people, especially now, man. This is exactly the kind of stuff people need.
Well, look at the reboots and the sequels and prequels of a lot of older films that, there's a market for it, right? Scream came out all those years later with the original cast and did well. You've got the Ghostbusters again, now that they went back to the original storyline group rather than the Wake Estrogen Busters version. So there's also, since we're breaking movie news here, Beetlejuice 2 gonna come. Beverly Hills Cop 4. So after all these years, finally we're getting some of these. Look at Matrix, how many years it took for a fourth film to come out too. Although Matrix came out really as an in your face. That was after a dust up that one of the creators of the original Matrix got in a war with Musk on X over his use of the red pill meme because he's woke. They never intended it, obviously, to become the phenomena of the left versus right, blue pill, red pill that it had, which is why you see a lot of woke message in Matrix 4. The character in 4 is called Switch. Well, that's because it's a trans allegory film. Switching gender. You're right.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though, right? It's like when as long as with these pop culture iconic movies, as long as they don't destroy them by twisting everything like they did for me, like the Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah.
They replaced all the characters, made them all women, and I'm like, well, I guess you can do that if you want to, or like when they do stuff like that.
They tried to do that with the Halloween franchise also and got in trouble, and they immediately switched back for the last two films. But the one before that, there was a gay couple bought Michael Myers' house. What the bleep does that have to do with this storyline? And they got kickback from it, and they deserved it. They're doing it again, the Ghostbuster thing with Madam Web. I just saw that the other day. I critiqued it. I give it a C-. I'm glad I saw it, but it's the estrogen Spider-Verse.
Wow, man. Are they still going to do a female James Bond in the next movie?
They've been talking about that. So, if they do that, I'm done with that franchise. Make your own new 007, 009, whatever, something different. It can't be the same change. You can't change those franchises like that.
It's like that's
Start
like
a
saying
new
this. You got it. We're gonna take Superman, but make Superman a woman. Well, now you've got Superwoman. Like
they did that. They did that.
Well,
what film
you
was
could do
that?
Superwoman, but that's Superwoman, and this is Superman. Or you could even,
The Flash. I love the Flash movie. I don't watch that TV series. I like the Flash movie, but they did that. The alternate universe had a Superwoman, not Superman. So, they still went somewhat woke with that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like maybe I'm wrong. I don't think, but people can disagree, and they obviously do because they have the money, they have the power, they have the productions, they have Hollywood by the tail, and they're making these movies and ripping them all apart. I just hope that they don't do that with Back to the Future 4.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Marvels that came out. I like Brie Larson, especially in that, I can't remember that quasi-horror flick, Cloverfield, I think it was, that she was in before. I like her, and I liked her as Captain Marvel. No issue. But the last film, The Marvels, where they had to bring in 3 other, and it had to be DEI. Same with Madam Web. It's the estrogen Spider-Verse. Apparently, Spider-Gwen wasn't good enough. They need an all-female Spider-Verse and, of course, the kids. I said, what? Why the Asian hate? No Asian girl? They had a white girl or a Hispanic girl, a black girl, and a white girl, with Dakota Johnson was the white female lead. Why wasn't that white female girl an Asian girl to complete the DEI trifecta that it was clear they were trying to engage in here? So while I liked it, I will not see it again. I will not see any sequels because it's gone woke.
Yeah. We were going to have a show at one point. I talked to Lori about this, and we were going to do a show about Superman. And then she started sending me all this stuff that, do you know where I'm going with this?
No.
Okay, is Superman a communist?
Oh, oh my God. In later episodes, maybe in current versions of his incarnation, probably. But originally, oh, hell no.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of stuff online and a lot of analysis of this. And, there's a strong argument to be made that the creators of Superman were socialists and pro-communist, and that that Superman is a communist, or at least a socialist, because of his perspective on the world and trying to help the little guy, and the political leanings of the creators who originally created Superman. I get it. I can see the validity in that argument.
They may have tried to think they were sneaking that message in. But when you have the tagline, truth, justice, and the American way.
Yeah, right. The American way.
I mean, that kind of shows a pro-Western point of view. But they also tried to peddle of late gay Superman. Hey, he was never married because guess what? He was gay all along. It's like,
so he was faking it with Lois?
Apparently. Create a new character. If you need a gay icon, create a new character.
Well, anyway, maybe we'll do that show at some point and explore the possibility that Superman was a communist. And, a lot of people are in that camp. And I certainly see the argument, but I also see the ideological conflict in the creation of that character, wrapped in the red, white, the blue, the country that's supposed to have been, that really is a bastion of free market capitalism, supposedly, although maybe not entirely.
Isn't it amazing that all these self-professed socialists and communists have no problem being in America trying to earn themselves a lot of money? It's okay for them, but not for you. Right? Bernie Sanders, right? Millionaires and billionaires need to pay their fair share. Now that he's a millionaire, what does he say? We got to go after the billionaires.
Well,
what a fraud.
I'll say this: when it comes to, fictional characters, especially comic book characters and so on, I suppose you can analyze it any way you want. So the good thing is, if you want him to be a communist, he can be a communist to you, and if you want him to be a capitalist, he can be a capitalist to you. And I don't really care. It's to each his own, I guess, and analyze it any way you want and embrace whatever you want. This person was embraced today, Deanna Sheriff. She is a Canadian, I would say, left-wing political activist. She's been at many, many protests, counter-protesting at freedom demonstrations. Today, she was arrested on Parliament Hill and I believe has been banned for a year. And I'm not exactly sure of all the circumstances, but we have the video of the cuffs being slapped on. Let's take a look at this.
And you guys know that. You guys know that.
Many videos of her kind of screaming at the camera have been posted over the last few years. So that's a change. I haven't seen too many people on that side arrested, honestly.
Right there.
It happened today.
They get arrested, but they're let right back out.
Back up, Brooke. Back up.
Yeah, and I don't know what the circumstances are here. I just got this in, so I'm just sharing this out. And I think a lot of the people in our audience tonight, and especially in Canada, would know who this person is because she is very active politically and has been seen at so many protests, counter-protesting freedom protesters. There she is. Oh, somebody's happy getting arrested. This is politics, folks.
Don't laugh.
Don't laugh. Don't laugh. I don't know who that is in the audio.
Oh, back up. We're going to get into trouble.
That's an interesting development. And Joseph, I'm sure you probably don't know who this lady is. But,
babe, watch out.
A lot of talk about her up here in Canada among those who are sort of knowledgeable and aware of what has been going on the protest scene, especially up around the Ottawa area, the nation's capital.
She may have been arrested, but I bet she's not in jail right now.
Probably
I bet she
not.
was right back out. I mean, we see that the cops do their job. The prosecutors refuse to. We see that Soros-backed prosecutors and DAs all over here. I mean, literally, talking about Kathy Jokel in New York again.
Yeah.
The illegal immigrants, I'm sure you've all seen the video, that attacked cops in the subway, let right back out the next day by who? Idiots like Kathy Jokel, New York City Mayor Adams, who want to now talk tough, but they won't change the sanctuary city status. They won't pressure the DAs. Jokel could, for cause, remove, like DeSantis removed DAs in Florida for violation of oath, not upholding the law, not prosecuting these people. If you're on the left, the cop may arrest you, but you're let right back out the next day, even if you're you've attacked a cop in the subway. And, Jokel, we cannot allow them to attack cops. Well, then put them away. Don't just let them right back out again.
All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back and get more stuff for you, including the new chapter of the Maverick Knights saga. What's this one called? It's called Antarctic Nazis. So that's coming up later on in the program.
I say the California Nazis have got to be next.
All right, we'll be right back in a moment, folks.
Fighting the Great Reset by leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News. The antivirus programs for your mind.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Exile. The Knights of Malta. Maverick News. Join us. The world is watching.
And with your help, Joseph, we can fulfill Choozy's wish and exile those Knights of Malta. In fact, I think, do I have one here? I think I've got a sample of a, yeah.
My video's gone wonky. I don't know what the deal
is.
Yeah,
put your hand up to the lens like that, and then pull it away, and it'll refocus for you. It should.
No.
No.
I tried to set the DPI, but I can do that in Zoom, but I can't figure out. Oh, there maybe under settings. There we go. Camera.
Well, you can help us exile the Knights of Malta by pursuing truth. So we've got these shirts for a donation of $30 or more. I'll send anybody that gives us a donation of $30 or more
go.
A shirt, an Exile the Knights of Malta T-shirt. Just tell me what size you want, and I'd be pleased to send that out. And you can donate at maverickdonations.com or freedomreporters.com.
Yes. Speaking of free marketing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
definitely.
and
again,
make sure, folks.
And
if you and just while I continue the pitch, just the pitch is please consider subscribing. Doesn't cost you anything. If you haven't subscribed, it would really help us out. And that goes for all the social media platforms. If you do subscribe on our YouTube channels, and we have one of our newer channels, Maverick Live, over on YouTube, that would really help us out. We need to build that one up. So we've got backup over there. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that you receive a notice every time we post a new video. That's really important. But Rumble is where it is at. And that is because we can pretty much talk freely over there. We're not getting banned like Joseph did on Facebook with his post just because it said news, and they said, "You're an honorary Canuck and you've been talking to that Canadian guy. You're out of here, pal."
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Hey, all they did was play into our hands because we're talking about it again. So in the end, I think they're really ultimately hurting themselves, shooting themselves in the foot, because people who were not awake before are actually at least licking the red pill. They may not have swallowed the whole red pill yet, but you got to get them to start somewhere, right?
Well, and it looks like, if you ask Jordan Peterson, it's going to be kind of difficult to exile those Knights of Malta, especially, which is to say, get rid of all the corruption, especially if, as he fears, Justin Trudeau continues to hold on to power. So here's some comments just recently from Jordan Peterson, who, of course, is very popular with conservatives.
The biggest fear I have right now for the country is that Trudeau will hang on for another year, because getting rid of that man is like trying to get a fly out of sticky paper. Yeah, with all the mess that would entail. And then Pierre Poilievre will be elected, and then we'll find out just how bad things are, and that'll be dumped on his shoulders, and his government will fail because of the cataclysm that he's inherited. The Conservatives will have a one-term shot at it, and then like Mark Carney will be the new Prime Minister of Canada. That's the most likely outcome, and by that time Canadians will make 40% of what Americans make instead of the 60% they make now. Yeah, so that's rough and likely. The biggest...
Yeah. Did you know that Canadians only make like 60%?
It doesn't surprise me. I didn't know what the number was. I knew it was certainly less. And I saw a report about a poll that Trudeau is like 8 points behind, supposedly. But again, he makes a valid point. We get into these holes, and these leftists dig these holes over decades' time, but yet conservatives are given a couple years to supposedly fix all of the mess. It takes years and decades to have gotten us to this point. You can't fix it overnight, unfortunately. I wish we could wave a magic wand, and his fear is correct that because of course, if we get into power and we try to fix things, they will block us at every turn, drag it out, so that we can't get things fixed. And indeed, next election, oh, look, it didn't get any better like they promised. And they'll try to convince people, oh, it actually got worse. Well, yeah,
we're losing your audio there, Joseph. It's gone all kind of wonky on me.
Did it?
There, it's back now.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure. I accidentally hit it, and that might have upset it. But yeah, I mean, we didn't get into this bleep overnight. It's going to take a while to fill in these holes.
Yeah, so
the key, though, as they say, the first rule of digging holes: stop digging. Right.
Yeah. Which brings us to Ukraine and Ukrainian troops. I'm trying to find the headline. Maybe it got closed off here. I had a news story teed up to put up on the screen, but the bottom line is Ukrainian troops over there are saying that the delays in funding coming from the U.S. are putting them in jeopardy. And of course, we've seen Ukrainian troops withdraw from the town of Avdiivka this week. Just was it yesterday, the day before? And what do you think of that? Is this delay in funding a big issue, do you think, or how do you what are your views on it?
Delay in supplies to some degree, I think indeed an issue. But again, it's not up to the U.S. and Canada. Denmark just announced they are literally, supposedly, going to send all of their artillery items, every piece of artillery, every artillery shell to Ukraine. Well, why didn't you do that before? A little late. Again, Europe needs to step up and do more. And Denmark can afford to do that because while their supply is then gone or depleted, they have NATO backing them up. So more countries there need to do that. Again, it's not an issue of dollars and cents. They need the physical supplies.
Yeah, so here's NBC saying Russia's military has Ukraine on the defensive, taking advantage of an army that is vulnerable after nearly 2 years of war, short of soldiers, dealing with leadership upheaval, and critically low on ammunition. New military aid remains stalled in Congress, and a shortage of supplies has contributed to the surrender of a key eastern city and eroded morale among units that find themselves outmanned and outgunned. Do you think that's true, or you could analyze that in a number of ways? You could say that that's the mainstream media propaganda trying to paint a bleak picture to try to put pressure on the government to come up with the funding, or you could take it literally and think that they're just telling you the straight up truth. How do you take it?
It wouldn't surprise me if it's true. The only qualm I have with that story, again, is delayed funding from U.S. What about Europe? Where's the supplies coming from Europe? Shouldn't more be coming from there? So yeah, that's why I get the angle of it is indeed just propaganda to try to draw more funds out of the U.S. ATM machine. So I could see both sides, but at the same time, Russia, of course, has a heck of a lot more people to draw from that Putin can throw into the grinder, and he has. They've lost a lot more than the Ukrainians, but the Ukrainians had a much smaller pool to draw from to begin with. So have they been worn down? I don't doubt to some degree. And again, with this Denmark thing, if Denmark, Germany, Poland, France, the UK, Italy, everybody else would have been stepping up more this whole time, we wouldn't be here where we are.
Yeah. Well, my analysis the other day when we saw that Russian ship sunk by Ukraine, I was saying on that occasion that I don't, as much as we keep seeing these pundits say this war is already over or it will be over really soon, we've been hearing that for the past 2 years, and I'm saying no, it's far from over. They may have, been. Ukraine maybe has pulled back from Avdiivka, but this funding, I think, will be approved. It will go forward. When that money goes in there, it's just going to continue to lengthen this conflict. This is not over yet. This is far from over. It's going to drag on for some time, I think. That is also why I believe that Putin, even in that interview with Tucker Carlson, put the option on the table. He was calling for peace talks, or negotiations, and I'm like, well, that's good. I mean, they should do that and bring this thing to an end, and I think that's a good thing from Putin. But I don't think that he's saying that just because he's from a position entirely of strength. I think he's saying it because there's fatigue. It's costing Russia a lot. I think they have achieved maybe all of their military goals, really. I think he's probably satisfied with what he has. He'd like it to stop now, before more funding, more weapons make its way to Ukraine, and then this thing just keeps grinding on and on and on. The Russian Navy has now lost 20% of its fleet. That is something that has not really been reported. This is costing Russia a lot, more than I think Russia would like to let on. A lot more than the pro-Russian analysts, pundits, streamers, influencers are telling us and want us to know. And I think it's cost Ukraine a lot as well. A lot in terms of, blood and treasure. So this is, it's a terrible situation all the way around, but I don't think either side is in a real position of strength. I think that they're both being ground down, and I think that Putin would like it to end And I think Ukraine would probably like it to end as well. It's just that for some of these NATO countries, they view the situation as it sits as unacceptable because of Crimea, which I think they want back, but Putin will not give it back. And I don't think he'll give up any of the gains that he has made there. Certainly not without one heck of a fight. I think he's willing and ready to throw as much as he needs to at it in order to keep what he has gained. And I think he has what he wants. So the opportunity is there, but not from a position of strength. I think it's from a position of fatigue on both sides. I'd like to see it end, and that's where I'm at with it.
I'd like to see it end too, but at the same time, the more we keep giving to the enemy, the greater likelihood they're going to then say, it's like, I forget the movie, who's the guy that made Blazing Saddles? I can't
Mel
think
Brooks.
Mel Brooks, a Mel Brooks film. He was spoofing Hitler. All I want is a little bit of peace. A little piece of Poland, a little piece of Czechoslovakia, right? The more you give, the more that they're going to come back to try to feast again. And it isn't just Russia. I discussed this with you last time we talked Ukraine. Belarus. You don't hear Belarusian rebels now attacking Belarusian government for supporting Russia and destroying Russian equipment in Belarusian territory. So the sentiment against the war on all sides is reaching a fever pitch. Indeed. So
yeah. So, my mistake, especially in the early, especially during the first year of this conflict in Ukraine, I listened too much to some of these experts who were making predictions about where this was going to go. I just put too much stock in what they were saying. Honestly, I did. They clearly were wrong, or they were just spinning a narrative to support one side or the other. This did not end quickly. It has continued to drag on, and I think that's where we are at right now as well. Because whatever it looks, when it's not these suggestions that the United States is running out of ammo. No, I've been digging into it. They've been ramping up production, and especially in areas, in factories, munitions factories around steel cities, and they've been ramping it up a lot, and they've had time to do it. They're producing more than we know, and they will continue to ramp it up. And I know that there are plans to, and I'm not really spreading state secrets here, but they're going to be increasing production even more over the next 6 months. A lot.
Yeah. And I don't think you'll hear this anywhere but here from me. They don't talk about it. They don't want to bring it up. But we are here today because we bleeped up the Cold War. We won the war and again lost the peace and failed. And this is
insightful.
This is now the domino theory, all replay, history repeating again. So in order to counter them, this is a Vietnam. This is a Korea. This is and I don't disagree with it. I agree, actually, the domino theory. We have to hold the line there, or it does go into Poland.
Potentially. I mean, I don't know what's in Vladimir Putin's head. I think we have an opportunity, to maybe draw this thing to a conclusion. I hope that it does end, because I want people to stop dying. And the same situation in Gaza, I want that to end as well, so that people stop dying. But there are political realities that have to be dealt with. And Richard Nixon, I think he had his grasp of geopolitics, I think, was second to none. So underrated. And in the 90s, he said that when the Berlin Wall fell, he said there was an opportunity there to, and I hope I'm paraphrasing. I have to remember what it was exactly, but he basically said it was an opportunity to show that freedom could work in Russia and around the world. And the United States should do as much as it could to help Russia make freedom work within the country. And that was an opportunity at the time. But the administrations that came into power didn't do that. They continued to view Russia as a rival, as an adversary, treat them as an enemy, and became arrogant, cocky in a unipolar geopolitical environment where the United States viewed itself as the world power and didn't feel they had to give much consideration to Russia. And as a result, we got what Nixon predicted would happen. He predicted that this would all happen. He said that if we didn't help Russia make freedom work there, we would get a return to a sort of Russian imperialism, which is, that they would react to that and respond accordingly and treat the West as an adversary, a rival, an enemy. And now we're getting exactly that reversion, I think, to a Russian imperialism, where they're pushing back against this NATO push up against their doorstep, which also should not have happened, given that the West promised not to move any closer to Russia with more NATO membership in more countries. But we did, and shouldn't have done it, but it happened. And now, the other school of thought in this, Joseph, and then you tell me what you think, but even though there was that verbal promise to not expand NATO any closer to Russia, at the same time, each of these countries is its own sovereign nation state and does have the right to determine its own destiny. And so even though the promise was made, each of these countries should have and technically does have the right to make a decision on whether it wants to be part of Russia, in terms of alliance, or if they want to be allied with the European Union and NATO and the United States. So, there are...
Well, they were begging. They're all begging to be part of NATO because, like Nixon, they knew what was coming. And it's a failure to learn history. Like, look at Afghanistan. We helped Osama bin Laden and the Mujahideen kick the Russians' aggressiveness, invasion, unprovoked of Afghanistan. It's a pattern of behavior. Russia invaded Finland before Hitler invaded anyone before World War II. People don't look at the whole history, but yeah, we failed Afghanistan. Also, when we pushed the Russians out, we just said, okay, we're done here. No, you break it, you buy it. You've got to stay involved and engaged. And yeah, these nations begged to be part of NATO because they knew the aggression was going to come again. And I don't buy the NATO expansion because if Russia truly had no designs of expansionism, NATO is not a threat. Never was, never will be. It's purely defensive, triggered by dictate, by treaty. NATO has never attacked anyone. Article 5 was employed after 9/11. That's the only time, really, there was a NATO come together and an invasion, but that was after we were attacked. So that NATO was never a threat. But yeah, we failed to learn from these failures.
I don't know. Like I see what you're saying. I don't entirely agree with you. I think that NATO expansion, even especially with what's happening in Ukraine, where they want to join NATO and they are sort of an unofficial NATO member now, it's just that not on paper. I don't think that was wise. And I'm not sure that, well, Putin says that 2014, with the replacement of the government, he views that as an American color revolution coup. And I understand why he looks at it that way. I think that may have actually been the case. Nevertheless, that being said, they did have a vote, and the people voted to join the EU. Yanukovych ultimately fled the country, didn't sign the agreement. So now you're really in a place of almost like civil war, essentially, in a way. It's kind of a strange civil war in Ukraine,
again,
with a proxy war in NATO. It's a mess, really, is what it is.
People don't understand history. Again, of course, Ukraine wants to be part of NATO because Ukraine has been oppressed by Russians and Soviets for 100 years. We talked about that Nazi battalion. That's not because they loved Hitler. They want to exterminate Jews, create a Fourth Reich. They're not Hitlerian Nazis. They stupidly wear regalia because why? Nazis liberated Ukraine from Russia. So there's a nostalgia for that about anti-Russian, not pro-Nazi, but anti-Russian. And again, you alluded to it. Ukraine has been a de facto NATO member since Clinton. People refuse to deal in the reality. That's why we are where we are. They gave up their nukes. They never should have done it. Bill Clinton made them de facto NATO in that deal. The U.S. said, you give up the nukes, you are de facto NATO without the actual membership. We would be their protector.
And to me, a Nazi is not necessarily identified just by the swastika or some marking, right? That is one way to visually identify one. No question. There's ideology there, but I think there are a whole lot of Nazis out there today who don't wear markings, that maybe are even in other political camps, because I see this convergence of communism and fascism. And, it's when it comes to prejudice, bigotry, hatred, that aspect of Nazism, which is probably the most important hallmark, the most important identifier of the negative aspects of that ideology. It runs across, from in different groups. As far as I'm concerned, some of these cliches have outlived their usefulness. It's like, is this person a good person? What is this person thinking? What's in their heart? What do they really believe? Because I don't care if you've got a hammer and a sickle on your flag or a swastika. If you're saying the same things, right, then that's what's important to take note of.
Or you're not, like the battalion in Ukraine, again, isn't calling for a Fourth Reich. And I've said it over, these Putin apologists. There are literally still more Nazis in the state of California than there is in all of Ukraine. Should Putin be allowed to invade California then? Now, there's a lot of reasons why I'd like California wiped off the map, but that ain't an excuse. It's a convenient excuse, but it ain't the real reason.
Definitely, there are some Nazis in Ukraine. There are Nazis everywhere to some degree. There's some in the United States, there's some in Canada, but that doesn't make the United States, a Nazi nation. That doesn't make Canada an entirely Nazi nation.
And it doesn't make Ukraine a Nazi nation. Now, I've said it over and over. Literally, go to tinyurl.com/fascocrats. I call the U.S. left fascocrats. That's not hyperbolic. There are literally 28 Nazi Social Party platform planks in today's Democrat Party platform. So
when you're trying to sell a war to the public, countries leaders will sell you a narrative that is simplified. It's dumbed down to make it easy for people to understand and to appeal to people on an emotional level, to get them angry or upset so that they support what it is that you want, which is to invade a country or to go to war, right? So that's why Vladimir Putin, and I understand why, he's like, these are all a bunch of Nazis. This country is full of a bunch of Nazis. We have to denazify it. That's the justification. And what better justification is there to go into a country with military force than to get rid of a bunch of pedophile, murderous Nazis who, right? So, well, of course we're going to support that. We got to get rid of all those Nazis. Well, okay, but is that really the case? Well, some. But I don't know. I honestly don't know how many Nazis are there. I think they've got a problem. It is within their military now, and some of those battalions have become prominent and have now some real power within the and influence within the Ukrainian government. I think it is an issue, but it doesn't mean that all the people in Ukraine are Nazis. And just because that guy showed up in Parliament in Canada doesn't mean that every Canadian's a Nazi, because every Canadian's not, right? But we've got some problems in the government, no question about that. But, I don't want that thrown around in such a loose way. I think that it loses meaning. It's dangerous talk. I don't like it, but people do what they do, and people in political power do what they do to get us pawns to pony up and do whatever it is they want.
Right. It goes back to your appearing on my show for the gray areas discussion. They want to sell it as black and white, but it ain't. There's a lot of gray area. Yes, again, they wear Nazi regalia because the Nazis liberated them from Russia. So there's a sense of nostalgia for the symbology, not necessarily Hitler. So I can explain that away. But again, over and over, also, anyone who wears a swastika is a complete bleeping moron. You're a moron. Yeah. For whatever your reasoning, you're a moron. You welcome that kind of idiocy upon yourself. Mm-hmm. But you're right. They sell a black and white picture dumbed down to drum up emotion rather than thinking through it all.
Which is what they do with the propaganda to keep things going. And that's why you see, such extreme narrative when it comes to like war footage. They'll show you, like, as soon as they start talking about children, right? It's like the dead children, the dead babies, so many dead children. Like, they use that to really get people upset, because there's nothing worse than Nazis killing a bunch of, innocent children, or a bunch of communists killing a bunch of innocent children, or however they want to sell it to you. But when they can start using the dead babies, what's worse than dead babies? Oh, it's dead babies killed by pedophiles. That's even worse, right? Or drug addicted, fentanyl, injecting apocalyptic zombie pedophile Nazis. That's even worse. I mean, it's like, how bad can you make it sound? That's the propaganda, and we get it all the time now.
But spare me the American left, who is all about slaughtering innocent children in the womb, but the minute a baby is killed in collateral damage, oh, that's a problem. There's a difference. You intend to kill the child in the womb. That baby died due to being someone, like in Gaza, being used as a human shield. The two don't equate, but yet they're all for murdering babies, except for when they can use it as propaganda.
Yeah. So, and the real tragedy is the loss of truth during times of war. It is the first casualty of war. Truth is in short supply, if it even exists anymore, I'm afraid to say. Very hard to find it. And that's the reality we're dealing with. And people are dying. People are being killed. It is horrific, and it really needs to stop. But I fear that it will drag on. Now, that being said, we're talking about Nazis and truth. So our new segment, our new chapter of Maverick Nights.
Good segue. Very good segue. Bravo, Rick. Bravo.
So fortunately, the Maverick Knights here, including yourself, Joseph, and the Maverick family, our family of Maverick Knights from the island of Misfit Toys, which is what we are. Okay, we're all from the island of Misfit Toys around here. We're all a bunch of oddballs, myself included, and that's why we love each other and why we take care of each other here. But we're also Knights, and we stand for truth, freedom, free speech, justice. And when we discover that there are people posing as freedom fighters who are actually Nazis, it's our job, our duty, our obligation to flush them out, even if we have to travel all the way to the South Pole. And this is the setup for today's episode of Maverick Knights, Antarctic Nazis.
Richard and the Maverick Knights arrived in the icy wasteland of Antarctica. They could feel the tension in the air. The Nazi imposters had set up their secret base deep underground, hidden from the prying eyes of the world. A special Maverick Knight team separates of Sir John, Dame Pam, and Dame Chris penetrate the cyber center and plant a virus that will take down the global disinformation network. With their upgraded super suits of armor equipped with anti-spy tech, the Maverick Knights were confident in their abilities to take down the imposters and expose their nefarious plot. As they descended into the depths of the underground base, they were met with fierce resistance from the Nazi soldiers. But the Maverick Knights fought bravely, using their
I'm actually going to recue this because we lost the first part of this thing. I'm sorry when I recued it. So let me just start it from the start. This is the Antarctic Nazis.
A secret plot for world domination involving Nazis posing as freedom fighters is uncovered. A secret propaganda information center has been discovered at the South Pole. As Sir Richard and the Maverick Knights arrived in the icy wasteland of Antarctica, they could feel the tension in the air. The Nazi imposters had set up their secret base deep underground, hidden from the prying eyes of the world. A special Maverick Knight team separates of Sir John, Dame Pam, and Dame Chris penetrate the cyber center and plant a virus that will take down the global disinformation network. With their upgraded super suits of armor equipped with anti-spy tech, the Maverick Knights were confident in their abilities to take down the imposters and expose their nefarious plot. As they descended into the depths of the underground base, they were met with fierce resistance from the Nazi soldiers. But the Maverick Knights fought bravely, using their advanced technology and superior combat skills to overcome their enemies. Sir Richard led the charge, his sword flashing in the dimly lit tunnels as he cut down any Nazi soldier that stood in his way. Finally, they reached the heart of the base, where the leader of the Nazi imposters awaited them. He sneered at Sir Richard and the Knights, boasting about their plans for world domination and how they had successfully fooled the world into believing they were freedom fighters. But Sir Richard would have none of it. With a swift motion, he removed his helmet, revealing his face to the imposter leader. "You may have fooled the world, but you will never fool us," he declared, his voice filled with determination. The imposter leader's face paled as he realized the game was up. The Maverick Knights had uncovered their secret plot and were ready to put an end to it once and for all. With a final battle cry, they charged at the imposters, their swords and blasters flashing in the darkness. In the end, the Nazi imposters were defeated, their plans foiled by Sir Richard and the Maverick Knights. The world was safe once again, thanks to the bravery and integrity of these noble warriors. And as they emerged from the underground base, the sun shining brightly overhead, they knew that they had truly earned their title as the saviors of humanity. The anti-Nazi virus had destroyed the computer cloud Nazi network. The base was destroyed. However, a group of Nazis did manage to escape to pursue a partnership with a very dangerous supergroup of political supervillains. To be continued.
Ooh.
Like I say, they got to come to California next.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, it was a
But
good thing we had. It was a good thing we had that separate super duper Maverick Night SEAL team to split off, because they got into that secret base with, who was it? It was John and Pam and Chris, and they went down there and they kicked some serious Nazi butt. They did.
I
lost your audio.
You still on like the History Channel. Oh, it can. I mean,
Yeah, lost your audio a bit there.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, because you still see. I still see on the History Channel every once, right? The Nazis in the Antarctic base. So you kind of based off of that speculation and how the Nazis were in cahoots with aliens on Antarctica during World War II and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Just saying. Just saying. Yeah. So, Joseph, that gets us to the end of the evening. I'm going to throw it over to you for some final thoughts to kind of wrap things up tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we covered a whole lot again. But bottom line on almost all of this is that the left has to warp language and control the media to provide their narratives. They can't win anything we've talked about tonight in an honest discussion based on factual information. So they have to just, like you said, the propaganda, right? And again, all sides in any war engage in propaganda. It's up to us to try to ferret out the fake and the reality. There's hints of grains of truth in a lot of different things.
Yeah. And my final thought tonight is we are all just a bunch of misfits on the island of misfit toys around here. And we need to support each other and love each other, especially in these crazy, uncertain times. We are in the midst of a new kind of war. Everything has gone pretty nuts, but together we'll make it through. We just have to support each other and be kind to one another.
I want to close out on a joke. You keep saying misfits. I'm a Mr. Fit. I didn't change my gender.
And with that being said, folks, love you all. See you all back here tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be kind to each other. See you tomorrow on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.